All right. I'm here with Ron Baker. How you doing, man?
I'm good, Landon. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
I think this is
absolutely.
going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Been wanting to have you on for a while, and so it's about time. I think we're past due, but I think it's a good timing with everything going on right now. So
No, this is great. For those people who don't know, me and you live in the dorms here at WSU. So, like you said, this has been a long time coming. Me and you have a lot of mutual friends in the city, and your names come up in a lot of areas I've been at, and a lot of people speak highly of you. And I really appreciate what you've done with this podcast and promoting Wichita. It's a beautiful city, and I think it deserves all the credit.
yeah, absolutely. And thanks for coming on. Like you said, we met in the dorms. I think you lived a couple of doors down. They smashed the academic scholarships with the athletic scholarship kids, and so it's coming up 10 years now. That's crazy to think about, but we're getting
Yeah,
old.
yeah, we're getting to that age, man. You've had your first child, which congrats, you and
Thank you.
Candace. Happy
Thank
for
you.
you guys both. But yeah, living in the Fairmount dorms, we're so old; those aren't even around
Yeah.
anymore.
RIP. The kids don't even know what those are anymore.
Yeah, they're just a vacant lot now up there on campus.
Yeah, for
The,
real.
the cool thing is, we're that age where WSU is starting to become a very very unique modern campus. The
Yeah.
dorms we lived in were extremely old, but it's good to see that the generosity that is around Wichita to help aid that campus and make it
hmm
what it is very, very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even recognize it half the time. I mean, I drive by it on the way to work every day, and it's still like I don't know what half the buildings are. New ones are
hmm
popping up every day, and it's pretty cool to see, though.
it's very cool to see what it's become. I do miss Brayburn Golf Course, but
Yeah.
it is cool to see all the very nice architectural buildings that are
hmm
going up on the east side of campus. It's very impressive.
Yeah, for sure. So let's just start from the beginning. So you're from
hmm
small town, Scott City, or I listened to a couple podcasts before this
hmm
that you've had. So you've kind of making the circuit over the past 6 months or a year, it seems like a little bit on various podcasts. But
Sure,
so high school's in Scott City, but tell us a little bit about
correct.
what small town life was
Yeah,
like.
so I grew up in a town called Utica, Kansas. For those who don't know where that's at, if you look at a map, you can go to Hayes, which is on I-70, and if you basically just draw a line from Hayes to Scott City, you'll basically go southwest, straight line, and Utica is basically in the center of that line.
hmm
Population growing up was around 300 people. My mom was a elementary teacher there in town, and my dad worked at the co-op and farmed for a living. I have two siblings. One's a year younger than me. My sister, she lives here in Wichita. She's looking to get an OT job in the near future. And my brother is 4 years younger than me and played baseball in Wichita State and now coaches and teaches at Chaparral, which is just down the
hmm
road. We had probably anywhere from 6 to 8 kids in our grade growing up in Utica. In 2000, we commuted from Utica to Healy, which is another small school, and went to school there. Um, I don't think I recall having any more than 8 to 12 kids in our class at Healy. So very small town. You could walk through the high school,
hmm
junior high, elementary school, K through 12, and you could name everybody in your school.
hmm
You had your lunches together in those in
hmm
those small schools. So very, very humbling when I get to go back there and see where my journey as a kid started.
Yeah.
And then 2004, my family and I moved to Scott City and went to junior high and high school there. I graduated in 2011 with a little over 55 kids in my class. So
hmm
still a small school, could go through high school. You knew everyone by first and last
hmm
name.
Was that
It's
two,
a
3A?
very,
How big a school was that?
yeah, so we were always a fairly decent sized 3A
3A. Okay.
in the state of Kansas. We were 4A a couple years, but mainly 3A, and now still kind of a large 3A. Very blue collared community. Farming and cattle is mainly the revenue that goes through that city. Then let's see, 2011 graduated, ended up walking on Wichita State
hmm
and played 5 years with our Shockers
Yeah.
here and had some tremendous memories. Met a lot of cool people like yourself in the dorms that first year. I think that was one of the cooler experiences. I talked to a lot of high school kids that are going to college now, and they don't want to live in the dorms. And I've met so many cool people that first year in the dorms up on campus, lived with a couple guys that were in those dorms and made relationships. And now that I'm done playing basketball and done with that, I've learned that building relationships started in the dorms, and now I get to expand my relationships throughout Wichita. But those first ones I built were in the dorms here on campus.
Yeah. So back in Scott City, you were a 3-sport athlete, right? Was basketball always your best sport, or what was your best sport growing up?
So growing up, baseball was kind of the sport we all loved and enjoyed the most. My dad played baseball at Fort Hays State, and it was just a sport that I picked up on pretty young. And I can remember swinging a bat when I was 2 or 3 years old. T-ball and all that. I think not till my junior year did I realize basketball was something I wanted to do. I grew up watching KU play basketball. I was a big Kirk Heinrich and Nick Collison fan. I never really grew until I was 17. I think I was 6 foot. So baseball was just a natural sport for my
perfect
size.
Baseball size,
athletic ability. I sprouted about 4 inches in between my junior and senior year, and I always loved basketball, but I just kind of in the back of my mind, the reality was I wasn't big enough.
Right.
So once I got to be 17, that's when I was 6'4", and I had the athletic ability to compete at a level that gave me confidence and could propel me into the D1.
Yeah, for sure.
Arena. So I was always a baseball fan, but like I said, once I gained confidence in myself from my height and my athletic ability, that's when it kind of shifted to basketball. But always loved football as well. I always tell people, especially now with kids joining club teams and playing one sport year round, multi-sport athletes, I feel, gain more from like a structure standpoint. In football, you obviously you don't have you have a play every 5 seconds, and then it's like, okay, I can rest. So there's not much endurance, but you get the physical aspect from it. You get the toughness. You have to, think pretty quickly when the play is going live. Basketball obviously is an endurance sport. You got to train yourself to be in good shape, better than your opponent. There's always strategy, and there's a lot of things that can teach you, especially when you may not be in the starting lineup or you're coming off the bench. There's just a lot of different things because it's only a five-person team sport. So there's a lot of things you can learn from that aspect. I think the biggest sport I learned from was baseball, a matter of fact. I played shortstop in high school, and I remember my dad was our coach, and he was always stressing about short-term memory. In baseball, you never know when a ball is going to be hit to you at shortstop, and you have to have that mental capacity to focus and be ready. But also when you strike out, you can't take that strikeout to the field. So you have to gain that mental.
If you're pouting about it, it's coming right at you next play.
It's that that ground ball is going to come right up your alley. So you definitely learn a lot of mental toughness, and you have to have a sharp mental mind to play baseball. So there's always something I learned from all three sports, and it propelled me into basketball. When I got to college, I could use all those aspects in the game.
Yeah, for sure. So you were a walk-on at Wichita State. Was there some kind of I know sometimes with walk-ons it's kind of like a preferred walk-on, like you've got a good shot at earning a scholarship pretty quickly after that. What was that conversation like with Coach Marshall kind of heading into college?
Sure. Yeah. So I knew what the details were. Coach Jans and Coach Marshall both agreed to put me on scholarship going into the 2012 season prior to me even getting to campus in 2011.
Yeah.
They knew a roster or a scholarship was freeing up in that year, but they had only started recruiting me in April. So they were already
okay. Yeah. So there's a timing thing.
They started recruiting me in late March, early April, and I still had committed to anybody, and ended up agreeing to pay my way that first year.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually signed my national letter of intent the week before our first game.
Oh, wow.
So I was going to be on scholarship in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
I knew right away because they were easy to work with. They verbally promised me a scholarship.
Sure.
So going into the year, signed that national letter of intent, and it was kind of it was just like a humbling experience.
Yeah.
I never really thought I would play at the level I was at, and to sign a full ride scholarship to play a kids game that you love was very humbling to me. I remember texting my family before that tournament we left for my freshman year and telling them that I just signed my letter of intent, and that was a memory that I'll cherish for a long time.
Yeah, that's incredible. Besides that, obviously, which is probably one of your favorite memories, what are some of the other memories that stand out from playing during your 5 years?
You always remember your first game
Mm-hmm.
you starred in. My redshirt year, I played in a game, exhibition game against Pitt State, and that was Emporia State, actually, down the road from us. You always remember your first game as a college athlete, pro athlete, high school even. So that was a memory that I have. And then we can get into a lot of really cool memories. Obviously, the Final Four, beating Ohio State to go to the Final Four. The cool thing I always tell people about that Final Four in 2013 is I remember starting in the game and getting on the court, and that year we were in the Georgia Dome, and you could look up in the rafters and you could see so far at somebody that they just looked like a little figure. Like you couldn't see them move. So I was like, these people are paying crazy amount of money to sit a half a mile into the sky just to watch this game. And I also remember it just being weird because it was the first Final Four in my entire life I hadn't watched.
Yeah.
That's
a great point. Yeah. Yeah.
I was in it.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, the great memory was, I think the biggest memory of the next season was playing at Illinois State, and we were undefeated. And it was one of the Illinois State and Indiana State were two of the teams that we kind of had circled on the schedule that could give us a pretty close game at their place. And I remember Takel Cotton's dunk with about 6 minutes to go in the game, and his head hit the backboard, and the fire alarms went off. Everyone started leaving
that was ridiculous. That was awesome.
Gym.
Yeah.
So obviously going into that year, we knew we were pretty talented, and for us to go undefeated is a memory I have from that season. The next season, beating my childhood favorite team, KU, in Omaha. That one's pretty obvious to me. Hitting some big shots and looking up at your parents and realizing that you're, about to beat a very historic team, a team that you grew up in, a team that drew you to the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was a very, very big memory. And then obviously senior night, my last year, was something I remember. There's nothing better than seeing 10,005 respected individuals up in the crowd showing you respect as a collegiate athlete, holding up your jersey, seeing family there, and seeing how far you've came as a individual and as a man. It was probably my top memory as a Shocker.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we drove down to Atlanta for that Final Four.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, we were front row. That was awesome. Candace and Andy Cole and some of those guys. Right. That was a blast. Yeah, that was so fun.
That was the cool thing. I remember seeing our students who traveled. They actually had pretty solid tickets on the end zone. End zone side.
Yeah, it was kind of a mad dash, and like they lined us up, and then we moved into this other room, and you kind of had to get your seats all lined up. But that itself was kind of a interesting experience, but it was just so cool to see. I mean, how big that place was. I'd never been down there before, and just how big it was. And I mean, you zoom out and how little the basketball court is in comparison, but that was a lot of fun. Yeah. That was a great memory.
Yeah. I can imagine. It was good to obviously play in a Final Four, but playing in a football stadium is something that's kind of interesting. But like you said, Final Four, wouldn't miss it. It was great to see students that I'd lived with in the dorms at those games. That was really cool.
Yeah, that stretch of years, I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, but like that stretch kind of, I mean, when we were in college, basically, it was just so much fun. Like, I don't want to say we peaked, but like just that stretch, we hadn't had that success before at Wichita State. And that was just so cool to see and experience firsthand. And yeah, it was awesome.
The coolest part was just sharing it with others. Like you make connections throughout all those years, and when you can go places and obviously be with people who love Wichita State and they're appreciative of the effort you're giving each and every day, like that makes you feel like you've come a long ways and you've almost helped them in a way. Like they can call Wichita State home. They like going to school there. They love going to the games. They love watching you. Supportive. It's just a great chemistry the whole school kind of had.
Oh, for sure. And it was crazy to see, like, because I don't know if it's still free, but students got free tickets. And so it was like, you could see the difference between like, you could show up 5 minutes before the game and get a ticket to in the middle of that run. And it was like, you have to camp out at 6 a.m. to get those tickets, or the night before to get those tickets. And so it was crazy to see the difference, especially like after the Final Four, undefeated year. Yeah, it was nuts. But do you stay in touch with a lot of the guys?
Yeah. So what's been great is I'm helping out with TBT this year, and we sent out, I think, 280-ish invites to all ex-players. Ex-players meaning more or less that you finished your eligibility here as a player. And we sent those out and have been getting pretty solid feedback. We're going to have a little all ex-player reunion around the weekend of the TBT. So it's been cool to reconnect with some of the older generation of players. But as far as ex-players, social media has been great. You can keep up with those guys pretty easily. Instagram, Twitter. People post on their story, you chime in here and there. So connecting like that's been fairly easy. But our connection as a team through those years was so good. We'll see these guys here in a week or so, and I mean, we'll basically kick it off right where we left off. And we haven't skipped a beat, even though it's been tough to maybe connect through the years. The connection is still there. That makes sense.
It's a special bond. And I think I saw, I don't know, maybe it was an Eagle article or something about how, I mean, assuming Wichita continue to host for sure, just because of the turnout, but it basically is like a family reunion for you guys. Now, at least once a year, you guys all get together and hang out and then have some fun and play some basketball. So
yeah, this has been obviously a lot of fun to put together, but this is something I think we want to continue to grow. I want it to be like every ex-player is looking forward to when that TBT bracket is released. Like, okay, I'm going to circle that weekend on my calendar. I got to go back. I got to meet some of my ex-players. And that's kind of the reason I wanted to help with it. And I know the guys that are helping coach it and organize it are in it for the right reasons. So it'd be great to see all those guys back, and hopefully this can continue to grow. I know in 2019, it was a tremendous turnout and the fans really enjoyed it. Yeah, and that's also what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think I don't remember the exact stats, but it was like 7,000 or 8,000 people showed up at Coke Arena compared to the next biggest regional was like maybe 3 or 4. And so it was like, it's kind of a no brainer for Wichita to continue to host, but it's just cool to see that Wichita is a basketball city and how we turn out. Yeah.
Wichita has just historically always been a basketball town, but reality, the state of Kansas is the seat of basketball. I mean,
for
it
sure.
started here, and it's grown in Wichita, I think, through the years and in the 80s, and then our run, I think, has really brought this city together as a whole. And they love the Shockers and they love basketball, so that's good for us moving forward as a program.
Yeah, because I remember, I think we were in 7th grade maybe with the Sweet 16 run with Mark Turgeon, something like that. We were in like middle school. And so I mean, I was a little bit of a Wichita State fan. I watched KU more growing up too. But then like really the Final Four is kind of what really put Wichita State on the map. Like a lot of people didn't know where Wichita was before that. And then everyone's hearing it on the tournament year after year, and it kind of ingrains it. Okay, it's right in the middle of Kansas. And
the best part of coming to school here, Landon, was trying to describe to people what Woo was.
Yep. It's tough.
Does he have wheat for hair? Yeah, yeah. But he's like a bundle. That's not his head. Like it's a bundle of wheat. Well,
Right.
what's a bundle? You're like, it's just
Here we
wheat.
go.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right.
Exactly. So while we're on the subject of the TBT, we'll go ahead and talk about it. So for people that don't know, it's the basketball tournament. I believe the prize is $1 million. Most of them are alumni teams or current overseas players and that kind of thing.
Yep.
So while we're on it, because I'm sure people will ask, you are not playing, and
Right.
why are you not playing?
Sure. So I had hip surgery, reconstruction surgery last September, and my recovery is just not going as I planned it to be. So I'm actually not a healthy individual currently.
Sure.
All I do in my free time is golf and sometimes play pickleball. So
yeah.
But like I had said, I'm thrilled to be a part of it. I know Zach Bush, J.R. Simon, and Garrett Stutz, and I are the four that are helping organize it, and it's been great. The 6 guys that originally kind of contacted Zach Bush to play were Connor Frankamp, Samaje Haynes-Jones, Marcus McDuffie, Rashard Kelly, and Daryl Willis. So those were our main 6, and the fun part about this was those 6 kind of constructed the team.
Okay, cool.
They were the guys that had said, hey, try this name, try that name, reach out to this guy. I think he could be a great piece. And with that, we were able to get Jaquel Cotton, who I played with.
Oh yeah.
Once we had him kind of locked in, it kind of started to draw Trey Murray and Jamie Echenike, which both those guys sadly are hurt. But when you get a guy like Jaquel, like that's fun because everyone's like, I love Jaquel Cotton. If he's playing, I'm playing. So that was cool to see. Tyrus McGee is a guy that we signed who played at Iowa State when I was in college. Very good player off the bench for them. But he is good friends with Joe Ragland, who was an ex-Shocker. And they were both in the Israel League this past year. And then another kid we signed is from Central Michigan called David DeLeo, and he was Connor Frankamp's teammate. Okay. So you have these guys that have a connection to former Shockers.
I was going to ask how they came along. Yeah.
So so that's how that kind of came to be. And then DeMonte Dodd is a kid that played at Maryland, and he's from the DC area, and him and Rashard grew up playing basketball.
Okay, so there we go. Okay, there's the last connection.
We're all connected at some way or some form. That's been the fun part, to see how the team kind of came together. The TBT tournament, though, 64 team, winner take all. Wichita is a great site. A lot of fans will be coming to it. 16 teams. We'll have 4 games a day starting the 16th, 17th, and 18th. And then we'll have 2 games on the 20th. Those last 2 games, the winners of those will advance to Dayton and play the final games there.
Cool.
But it's been cool to see how this tournament is grown. In 19, I think it was even a $2 million purse. So
I think
it's definitely growing in the right direction, and it's a fun style of basketball. It's not going to be walk it up the court and run a set. Not a lot of X and O's in this. It's a tough time, to be honest, to play these games because it's in the middle of these pro players' off season. Yeah. So coming into it really is just about your light structure. I mean, make sure these guys have some sort of structure when they play in it. But you still want them to have fun. And if we can come out, have fun, I really like our team right now. It's been fun to be a part of. I know Wichita, the town, appreciates it. And I look forward to seeing that connection with our ex-players and the players that we've kind of brought along with us to connect with our fans and be back in Coke Arena full go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe so. There's an Elam ending. So for what people, can you explain that? I guess, can you explain that for what people don't know?
Sure. So the last TV timeout, which is after 4 minutes, if there's a dead ball, foul, whatever, you take that team that's winning, say Landon's team has 70 points and I have 60 points. Now we're playing to the first team to 79.
Okay. So you just add 9 to whatever the top score is?
You add 9 to the top score, and we're off to the races.
Nice.
So that's an interesting ending.
Yeah.
They want all games to end. I could be wrong. It could be 8 or 9. I believe it's 9, but
yeah,
points. But the reason for it is you want to eliminate fouls late game. You want to eliminate teams stalling, and you want to give that team that is down still a chance to win.
Right.
So the game clock will completely shut off. You will have a shot clock still, but not until someone scores.
Yeah.
Like
it makes it way more exciting. Yeah.
Example. Yeah. You're going to have you'll have a game winning basket, whether it be a free throw, a 3 or a 2 on every single game.
Yeah. That's really cool. So in that case, I think I might know who your answer is, but who's taking the last shot if we need the last shot?
Yeah. I think the whole town of Wichita probably could guess this one, but if we need a last shot, I think he made a couple game winners this past year in Spain. I'm going to have to go with Connor Frankamp. But I know there's a few guys on our team that averaged over about 16 points per game this year. So it'll be interesting to see how everyone gels together.
Yeah, for sure.
As far as the scoring goes, but yeah, I could probably trust Connor Frankamp, and I'm sure you could too.
Oh yeah, well that's good. We have a few options, so they can't just double team Connor. We got a couple guys to dish to.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think I haven't looked at the bracket in a while, but I believe don't want to look past the first round, obviously. But I think it's kind of the K-State alums and the Creighton alums. So who would you prefer to play, just based on history? Kind of got the Kansas tie versus kind of the old rivalry tie.
Yeah, obviously, like you said, the expats. I've looked at their roster, and they've got some guys that are very talented. But if we were to take care of them, that's a tough question, because the cool thing about this TBT is a lot of fans are going to be able to see other opponents that maybe were in the tournament back in the day or even played at Coke Arena. So I'd love to have Creighton back in there. I know
for sure
their fan base would definitely attend a lot of the games here in Wichita, and I'm sure there's going to be some K-State fans too. I'm good friends with a couple of the K-State guys, but I'd have to go with Creighton. I'd want to see them back in Coke Arena, just from the history that we've had in the past, going back to McDermott and those guys. So
yeah, that was a lot of fun.
It'd be really cool. Yeah,
that was a lot of fun. Those were some of the best games. Those are the games you had to camp out early for, because everybody was trying to get those tickets.
Yeah, I think it was our freshman year. They came to our place on New Year's Eve, and it was a blackout, and we ended up winning, and probably one of the loudest I've heard Coke Arena throughout the
I remember
year.
that.
So
yeah, for sure.
There's some rich history there. It's good to have those guys back in the arena.
So shifting gears just a little bit, actually, before we move on from kind of the college years, there's recent news that the NCAA has kind of changed their name, image, likeness rule. So if that rule had been when we were in college, how would you have capitalized on sponsorships?
Well, I didn't even get Instagram until like my second or third year in school, and I feel like a lot of kids are going to make good money off of that.
Good money. Oh yeah.
So that's interesting. But the cool thing about Wichita, there's a lot of businesses that support Wichita State. So I'm sure that's where I would have capitalized, teaming up with whoever in this town, because there's a lot of businesses that support Shocker Athletics. And
for sure, even
if you think about guys that I went to school with that ran track, or even the guys that played baseball. I mean, we had a Casey Gillespie who was in our class.
Yeah, true.
Was a first rounder. Like, you look at guys like that, and then you look at Austin Bonner, who was a decathlete and went to a couple Olympic trials. Like, these guys could have had a tremendous opportunity when you look at NIL. Like, so that would have been really cool to see in our era. But as far as capitalizing, I know there was a lot of really, really cool businesses in town that would have definitely helped out their fellow Shockers throughout the years.
Oh, for sure. Okay, so when did you know, or when did you think you had a shot to go to the NBA?
Probably the Final Four year when we played Louisville, matching up with Peyton Siva and Russ Smith, guys that played in the NBA a few years. I think bringing up the basketball up the court when those guys are guarding me and seeing how big they were, I was bigger than them, and
Yeah.
I had a really solid Final Four game. I just gained a lot of confidence from that year, and then I truly knew it my sophomore year when we started winning all those games. And I had a really great staff when I was there, and they made sure to push me each and every day. And when I was working out with Fred and Jaquel Cotton and those guys, and I was doing some of the things I just gained confidence being alongside them as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was the three biggest things that kind of gave me that outlook into the future, knowing, and gave me that confidence, like I said, and knew that was an opportunity that presented itself down the road as being in the NBA.
I'm sure it didn't hurt having like Takel guard you in practice or Fred guarding you in practice. Right. Those are some tough guys to kind of defend against you and learn what you can do, what you can't do, that kind of thing.
Yeah. The year we were undefeated, I remember going to Coach Marshall's office and telling him, hey, when we do 5-on-5, don't put Fred on my team. Like we have to go against each other. Cause if we want to keep getting better each and every day, we got to make ourselves better. And I remember every day we were not once hardly were we ever on the same team that undefeated year, which was great for both of us in that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was it like? You said you always remember your first game. What was it like your first game, whether, I don't know if it was away, home, the first game you got in an NBA? What was that like, stepping in front of that many people?
So my first game was at MSG. It was a preseason game. I think we were playing the Celtics or the Wizards. How it works is usually in the preseason, you try to play one West Coast team, and then you try to just play teams around your geographical site. So we played Brooklyn, DC, and the Celtics. But I think we were playing the Celtics, and I remember warming up and then ended up starting the second half. And when I got on that court, MSG sells out every single game. Right. And, all these fans are kind of looking at me like, who's this guy? And when I stepped on the floor, it just felt like every single basketball memory and just ran right through my body. Like the jitters and all the best feeling a kid could ever imagine. Yeah. The adrenaline's rolling. You're at the pinnacle. You're at your dream. Like you can't get any higher than NBA other than maybe the Olympics or something along those lines. But I mean, I was there. So it was very surreal, knowing that the 20 plus years I put into it, the sacrifices my family had made for me to be successful, all the teammates, all the great coaches I had, it came full circle and I had finally made it. It was a very surreal moment.
Yeah. Especially like you said, in MSG, Madison Square Garden is kind of like the mecca of basketball, right? It's kind of like, that really is the highest level. Like obviously there's like LA and Chicago and stuff like that, but like MSG is kind of where it's at.
Yeah. It was probably the only NBA city and stadium that sold out every single game. And part of the reason is because of MSG and the history behind it.
Yeah.
And just always having fans there was awesome. Unfortunately there are some NBA stadiums that don't sell out every game. So we were definitely spoiled from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That standpoint.
Yeah. How hard is it as somebody, I mean, you didn't play a ton, you got your minutes, you got to play. How hard is it to kind of come off the bench cold like that and be expected to perform?
Yeah, it wasn't the easiest, but at the end of the day, you're making tremendously good money and you have to be a professional. You got to be ready. You got to do whatever you got to do, because when your name's called, you got to do the best you can in those minutes. You can't be the guy that's like, well, I'm only played 7 minutes. I can't get a rhythm. Well, there's 13 other guys that can come in and do better. So you're on the same team, but at the end of the day, everyone's kind of battling for those minutes. So you just have to be a pro.
Yeah,
take care of your body and make sure you're ready.
Yeah. Did you get starstruck at all, whether it was your own teammates with the Knicks or because there was some all-time greats on your team at that time, or just who you played against? Do you get starstruck at all?
The first day I met my teammates in New York, I remember meeting Derrick Rose, and that's also another surreal moment. Why am I in this gym right now playing pickup with these guys?
Yeah.
Other than Kay Felder, who was a late pick in my draft class that went to Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And my roster was pretty much just as good as him when you look at it on paper. I mean, we had Joakim Noah, who was an All-NBA player at one point. Carmelo, same thing. We got Derrick Rose, youngest MVP ever. Brandon Jennings, who scored 50 plus in a game at Milwaukee, and a few others. And just kind of looking around a gym here and there, you just catch yourself just looking at your teammates. Like, wow, this is
incredible.
This is a pretty cool moment. Right.
That's really cool.
So I'd say Derrick, I had a few run-ins with certain celebrities when I was there. But once you realize like certain actors or certain singers or even certain players are just normal people like yourself,
right?
Like it just becomes kind of like a foreign deal where you're just like, well, yeah, I'm like, that's Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller and I are friends. Like he's just a normal dude.
Yep.
So like
I was going to say that was the video I ran across or came across too. I remembered seeing was you diving out of bounds and kind of dapping up Ben Stiller after he caught you and everything. So
yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, that was another cool thing about MSG is just all the actors that are in town doing different things. They stop in at a game, and that was really cool to see, like 50 Cent and Ben Stiller, Sting, all these cool, really famous people, but they're just they're regular people watching a game. So it was very, very surreal.
And on the flip side of that, I think I heard this on another podcast from a couple years back on ESPN or something. But when you were coming into the stadium once or twice, security stopped you to see if you were actually a player or not.
Yeah, well, I didn't. It was my first time driving in New York, so I was one, nervous from that aspect, and two, I didn't really know how to get into the garden. So I'm calling an assistant of our GM and like, hey, how do I get in here? It's like, no, do this, do that. Finally getting into the entrance, and it's gated, and I'm just sitting there, and the security guard's like basically telling me to get out of the way, and I'm like telling him to come here. So I roll down the window and I'm like, hey, I'm Ron Baker. I'm on the team. I'm playing. And he's like, kind of like, not, he wasn't laughing at me, but he kind of had that look like, dude, you're in a Hyundai Sonata. What are you talking about? He radios in, and they're like, hey, yeah. And there's a New York accent, like, hey, yeah, man, I got Ron Baker out here. Is he really on the team? and then he's like, Mr. Baker, I'm sorry about that, man. I was like, it's all right. I just got on the team 3 weeks ago, so no hard feelings.
Yeah,
but
innocent
I need to get to shoot around.
Yeah, exactly. Don't want to be late. Who was the hardest or toughest player that you had to guard?
My rookie year, I think the toughest guy was John Wall, actually.
Yeah.
He was one of those players he was a change speed guy. When I say that, he would kind of play lackadaisical. And then right when you relax, he would see it, and then boom, he's
explosive,
gone.
quick. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably one of the faster players in the NBA in 2017 that I faced. I never got to play against Kyrie, but he had a really, really good season that year. But he set out all the games that we played against him.
Sure. He was
John Wall was a very tough cover. And I've always told people that. I just remember him being super, super fast. And when I would get into games, I was always the guy that would pick up full court and try and harass you and make you tired. Because that was the only advantage I had was my endurance. All these other guys were more explosive and faster than me. But I tried my best to wear them down. And I remember going in that game, I looked at Kurt Rambis and he's like, don't do that. Go
get burned.
Yeah, you're about to get toasted. I was like, okay, we're not doing that anymore.
Well, I mean, I think that's two of the things that people always said about you was just how tough you were and kind of the hustle aspect. Like you might not have been the biggest, the fastest, the best shooter, but you always could out-heart people. And I mean, I think, again, that's kind of the Midwestern value, right? Work harder than people, especially Western Kansas. But so you battled some injuries kind of throughout. So what was the transition from the Knicks? I think you had a short stint in Washington. What was the next kind of step like?
So I had back-to-back seasons where I tore my shoulder in January and February. So being away from the game, it made me kind of realize that this is part of the game. I mean, this is a part of being a pro. You got to focus now on getting healthy. Spent my last year with the Wizards. I think with them, I was with DC for 6 weeks or so. Got waived a week later. Hurt my shoulder. Had surgery, so I'm out that rest of that year.
Yeah.
But I had to, rehab. I had to get my shoulder right. And in that August, I signed with a team out of Moscow in the EuroLeague. And for them to give me an opportunity coming off of 2 years of being injured shows that they respect me and my agent. And ended up going over there in mid-August. Was pretty. Was going over there open-minded, but at the same time pretty nervous. I knew it was clear across the world, but I had talked to a few guys that were on the team that I knew of, and they assured me that Moscow's a safe city, and we were one of the better teams over there, and sold me on it. Was over there for 8 months before we came home for COVID, but that last season, I just came to the realization that being over there and being away from people I love here in the States was just not something I was really thrilled about, and wasn't really looking forward to going back over there this next season, which would have been 2021. And my left hip was starting to bug me to an extent where I was having trouble sleeping. I was never comfortable. Sitting down for long periods of time was tough, and just felt like it was time for me to come home and really evaluate if I wanted to keep playing. And I just didn't, I can honestly say I didn't have all my heart in going over there and playing the game. I still love the game, but it just wasn't mentally something I wanted to go through. But I will say, the experience of being in Moscow and having the perception of what the world is like on the other side is very, very, very cool. You see a lot of a different culture. You get to see a lot of the world, some beautiful areas over in Europe. And there's a lot of places that have a lot of history. I think as Americans, we don't really understand how old our country is.
Right.
You go over to Israel, you go over to the Middle East, you go to Russia, Spain, all those towns have so much history, and it's really, really neat to see.
Yeah, for sure. Do they speak any English over there, or is it all Russian?
So Moscow in the city, you'll run into someone at a restaurant that will speak good enough English for you to order. A lot of their menus are bilingual, so you'll have a Russian menu and an American menu. It kind of just depends on when you go somewhere. It just depends on that person and what their background is. There's some people in Russia that really don't care for Americans. Like they don't want to help you get a meal. They don't really want to have a conversation with you. There's some times where you might say, hey, how are you? Even in Russian, and they kind of look at you, well, why are you asking me? I don't know you. So that was an adjustment to the language barrier. But there's also a lot of Russians that you meet that are really interested in your story, which was cool to see. That they really wanted to see what America was like, and there was a lot of cool areas where you could go and you could find those people, and it was comforting.
Yeah. Did you pick up any Russian while you were over there?
I picked up just the basics.
It's kind of a tough language.
Yes, no. I remember talking to one of my teammates that was from Russia, and he told me that their alphabet was one of the toughest alphabets in the world to learn.
I believe it, yeah.
And I'm not sure, I didn't get into details why, but I think it's just a really tough language to compare to other languages, if that is to make sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Because some of it's even based off of tone. Like if you say a certain word in a certain tone, it means a totally different thing.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I learned some basic Russian, and I had some cool Russian teammates who were bilingual and helped me out.
Yeah.
When we would go places, and I made it through, 8 months over there. So I had to learn some.
That's more than most people could make it. So, so you came back for COVID. So you've been back for whatever, a year, almost a year and a half, what it is. What are you up to now? What are you doing? Are you planning on sticking around Wichita?
Yeah. So in January, my childhood best friend from Utica actually was living here in Wichita, and he sold me a home.
Okay.
So I've been in my new home since early January.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to calling Wichita home. I really enjoy it here just because you're one phone call away from whatever you need, whether that be a person or you can get a hold of pretty much anyone in this town. There's a lot of generous people here too. I think, I'm not sure what the article was, but I was reading that in the nation, we're like top 5 in generosity when it comes to,
I believe it,
our town. And that's just the reason I kind of wanted to live here. I feel like people are my speed. They're nice. They care for one another. I don't think I've ever heard someone who lives in Wichita say they don't like it here. Like if people live here, it's because they want to live here and they want to better the city that they live in.
Yeah.
So right now I've been doing a lot of networking here in Wichita. I've reconnected with a lot of people who I met with in college, and it's been nice because when you're a pro, you come back and you see those people, and it's usually just small talk. Like they know I'm busy, so I got to get to whatever I got to get to. But now it's been great. Even working with the TBT is going to see some of these people, some of these even sponsors here in town, and reconnecting with them. I'd met them in college, but now I'm home and I'm staying put, and I can start building those relationships once again and strengthen them.
Yeah, it's a little bit slower pace for you now, and as long as you're not late for your tea time, you're good to go.
Yeah, man. If anybody wants to come out to Teradyne, I'm usually out there about three days a week working on my swing. I still haven't got my handicap down, but I usually have a good time. Out there.
Yeah, as long as you've got Frank Camp on your golf team, you're good to go, right?
That kid's he's a stick. We played last week actually. Him and Eddie Fahnenstock and a couple others out there. We usually hit it around about once a week. There's a good younger crew that's our age out there, and it's a club I've grown to love a lot. The people out there are really nice, and Andover's as you know, is a very, very cool town.
Oh yeah, it's very cool. Well, I'm not much of a golfer, but we can go play pickleball sometime. So
there you go.
I love some pickleball.
Those courts are going up like wildfire around here.
Every park they're popping up. It's awesome. So I've got some just kind of various questions that I ask all the guests. So these are the same questions. So first off, what is something you often recommend to people? It could be a book, podcasts, anything like that.
Okay. I'll just go with book first. I started reading a book during COVID called Burn Your Goals.
Okay.
It's a Josh Gordon book. He's a great follow on Instagram as well. Basically, burn your goals, meaning, hey, you need to go into every day of your life. Stop focusing on your goals. Focus on today. Focus on treating others right. Focus on whatever task you have. Work it like it's the last one you'll ever get. I really enjoyed that. Podcast I've been listening to is Dose of Leadership.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a guy out of Andel. He has some really cool guests on. Richard Ryerson's his name. Met him a few times, and that would be a podcast I'd recommend.
Yeah, I had him on a while back. He's a great guy.
Did you really?
Yeah,
that's
he's
awesome,
really good.
Man.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
He's a super good guy. Has a very good story. Ex-Marine. He's a great human being.
Yeah, he is.
I'm a big foodie, so when I have friends and family in town, I always recommend certain places to go. There's a lot of unique franchises that I call them franchises. You know how it is. There's one in East Side, West Side, and maybe downtown. Been going to Ziggy's a lot out east. There's family owned and ran, and just a very, very good atmosphere. I like getting to their place at least once a week. It's on my way home from Teradyne. So that's what I enjoy the most. But obviously having chicken and pickle here is great.
Yeah, it's nice.
The owners out of Kansas City, and they were excited to bring that out here to the market.
Yeah.
But other than that, golf, pickleball,
Mm-hmm.
Ziggy's, that's about all Ron Baker does nowadays, and hangs out with
It's a pretty
his
good
family.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's
going pretty
awesome.
good.
Good. This next one is, what is your favorite failure in any aspect of your life? Put you on the spot a little bit. Take your
Favorite
time,
failure.
but
Yeah, at the top of my head, I probably can't think of something. What I would say is the biggest failure I've ever had is just let down. I don't know what it was, but I've let my mom and dad down a few times in my life.
mm-hmm.
And when you do that, it's a good learning moment, because those are the people that do the most for you.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that sacrifice their time,
Yeah.
sometimes their opportunities to put you in good positions. And when I let them down, it eats at me, and it's not a feeling I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But that feeling is also something I can use to learn from, to make sure something like that were to never happen again.
Yeah, for sure. What is your definition of success?
How do you define success? Well, there was I don't know if it was a book or maybe just a tweet I ran by the other day, and it actually might be in Bring Your Goals, but it was talking about, who are you on the last day you're on earth? So you're not defined by how much, your bank account's got. You're not defined on all sorts of things. You're not defined by, we'll say. But when you're on your deathbed, what did you do to make sure those around you were impacted? What did you do to get people to enjoy your company, get the people to enjoy your character?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll circle back to this, but just treating others right is become very important in today's society. And when you're on your deathbed, you're not going to talk about, like I said, money. You're not going to talk about certain things. Like, they're just going to talk about how you impacted
mm-hmm.
those that were in your life. And that's how I think success is defined.
Yeah, I love that. Tell me about a life motto you live by, or what is some of the best advice you've ever received?
My best advice, it sounds cheesy, but in third grade, my mom was my teacher. And the first day of class, she writes up, treat others how you want to be treated. And as a third grader, I'm sure you're guilty of this too. You're all fired up for school, and you kind of look past that. But when you circle back and really evaluate what that means, it's something I think everyone should definitely live by. It means so much to treat others right, because at the end of the day, you never know when you're going to need, their aid or their help.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first question?
It was just kind of all together. Life motto, best advice. Whatever.
Oh, life motto is behind my bar here. I have a piece of it's like a 2x4 my grandma
mm-hmm.
made for me, and she carved in WTD, and it means win the day.
Mm-hmm.
I wake up, and every morning, I don't have a lot going on right now, but in the future, that's kind of going to be my motto. Each day is something we should all be grateful for. We got to use it
mm-hmm.
the best we can, and it all kind of circles toward how you're treating others, what you're doing to
mm-hmm.
impact those around you. And win the day is something I've always enjoyed to say. I've always enjoyed to hit win the day
mm-hmm.
out to all my people on Snapchat. So that's my motto right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think most of the best life mottos and the best advice are usually simple, pretty cliche, but it's cliche for a reason, because it's true. And
sometimes when you make a motto too long, it can make you overthink what you're actually trying to do. I think the simpler we live and breathe each day, it definitely is going to make life easier for those around us and ourselves. Yeah,
for sure. What is a habit that you've developed over the past few years that's most improved your life?
I'm a big birthday person.
Okay.
So anytime I see someone that has a birthday on my Snapchat or on Twitter, or if I randomly see someone on Instagram that has a
Yeah.
birthday, I always try to say happy birthday to them, because I know on my birthday it's just a warm feeling in your soul when random people hit you with a happy birthday. So that habit's been something I've been trying to continually grow on. Once again, simple, but
that's a new one. No one said that on the podcast yet. I like that.
It's easy to not do those things, like that. Like, it's just easy to keep on with your day, but
takes 2 seconds, but it can make their day.
Yeah, exactly. And they probably got hundreds of people wish them happy birthday, but for me, it's a super kind gesture that we can all do to those that have birthdays.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned a couple of your favorite parts about Wichita, but what is your favorite part of Wichita? Or what's a hidden gem in Wichita?
Hidden gem. There's a lot of things to do, especially when you come from Western Kansas. There's a lot of unique areas and places to go. Before I got my home, my friends and I, we spent a lot of time at Walt's East.
Yeah.
And it's an older establishment, and sometimes the people in there are a little older, but we would always go in the back and play pool. I enjoyed playing pool, and I actually had some nights there with like Carl Hall, Ahime Rupke, Demetric Williams, guys that were on the Final Four team, and we were able to get back there and play some pool. That's a hidden gem that's been around for a while. And once again, they got an east side, a west side, but the one out east has been a place that I always enjoyed going. It's got a lot of character, and even the food's pretty solid too.
Oh yeah, we live pretty close to that. We love Walt's.
Yeah.
Great choice. Is there anything you wish Wichita had that it doesn't, or what would you improve about Wichita?
Well, obviously I think it's going to need improvement coming off of 2020, but I'm definitely satisfied with the downtown area. It's always been a place I can go and enjoy my time with my friends. I did see a tweet a while back about the potential stuff with Century 2. I don't know how legit any of that was, or if it's even
there's some actual legit plans and there's some ridiculous plans. So who knows?
I thought we were going to be like the next Dubai when I looked at that.
It's like a roller coaster and gondolas and
And you probably know more history on Century 2, but it would be really cool to just see that area blossom. I don't know how well it does right now, but
sure.
I know Wichita loves having foot traffic through the city, especially with the new Wind Surge team.
Oh yeah.
Bringing them here gets more people out and about. So maybe seeing Century 2 blossom and seeing our downtown district continue to grow.
Yeah,
it's always cool to see what new buildings are going up east and west, but it'd be really neat to see a little not change, but a little blossom in that area downtown.
I think there's a lot of plans, whether we keep Century 2 or not. I won't put you on the spot right now because there's some pretty avid fans of both sides of the debate, whether we should keep Century 2 or demolish it. But have you been down to the Riverfront Stadium?
Yeah, I went to Wichita State's game down there in Houston. And then I went to a Wind Surge game with my brother about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Nice.
Very, very impressed with what it's become. I'm really excited to see that area, Delano, how it's going to change. There's been some apartments go up there.
Yeah.
The Monarch's another hidden gem.
That's perfectly located.
Yeah. How about that? They've always been a solid place, but now with that location, it's probably an area that's definitely jumped up on real estate prices.
For sure. But
that's the cool thing about Wichita. I think there are a lot of people that come up with those ideas as far as bringing that team here. They obviously love the area, and now our generation gets to see that area blossom.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be really cool to see how it pans out. And the team's obviously fun to watch, and people love going there, especially this time of year.
Yeah, it's a top-notch stadium. And we were driving by. We were going to eat at Ruben's Mexican places right down there in Delano. And I didn't even realize, I think it's Sycamore is those apartments, because there's the River Vista right on the river, and then there's another one right there. I'm like, man, these are crazy nice. And it's so cool. Like, get the young families or young professionals, whoever's living down there, and within walking distance of everything is great. Like, you could just walk to the games, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it would be neat to see what age of people are going to start kind of
Mm-hmm.
gravitating towards that
Sure.
area, because you can get some, people that are fresh out of college, single,
Oh, yeah.
outgoing, wanting to get through that area. Like, it's going to continue to grow
Mm-hmm.
the places around there. It's just going to be cool to see, man. I hope that area becomes something fun and people like ourselves can go down and enjoy.
Absolutely. So I just have one more question. What does Wichita mean to you?
Well, it's home. I've never felt like I've ever been mistreated here. My folks live 3.5 hours away in Western Kansas. It's not a short drive, but it's a decent drive for them to come visit me. My sister moved back here, so it's good to have family in this area. I've always felt like this could be a place where I could grow as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my friends from college live here and reside here, so when I moved here, it's just a fit. This place means a lot to me. I've got here as a kid and I've become a man, and it's been very, very, very good to a kid that grew up in Utica, Kansas. For me to call Wichita home is something I don't take very lightly. It's very important.
I love that, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you to kind of follow your GM journey as you lead the Aftershocks to a TBT championship and $1 million? Where can people find you on socials and that kind of
Sure.
stuff?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. It's my first and last name, Ron Baker 620, or Ron Baker 31 on Twitter, I think. Yeah, I'm looking forward to TBT. I'm looking forward to my transition as a person, moving into my new home, and I feel like I'm in the right city. And I truly do appreciate what you do on Twitter with this platform that you've created. And who would have thought, man?
Who would have thought?
2011 dorms, Paramount.
Here we are.
Now
Look at us. Look at us. Well, again, man, I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Aftershocks do, see what you're up to. We'll have to catch up again soon, and we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, man. Keep up the good work. Proud of you.
Yeah, let's go play some pickleball soon. Have a good one, man.
All right, buddy.